I escaped extreme poverty. And what I mean by that is I grew up in an environment where I lived in abandoned buildings. I lived in a tent for a year. I lived in women's shelters. I lived in motels. I was poor, very poor. Okay? Now I do okay for myself. The life that I have right now is what my younger self thought a rich person was. So I think I'm doing okay. And I come from a long line of scammers. Because of this, I kind of grew up learning how to hustle and find ways to make money when I didn't have money. And my dream, my whole life, was to go to college because I thought if I get to go to college, I won't be poor. That was what I thought was my way to escape poverty. So I always wanted to go to college. College was my dream. I don't regret it. I don't regret going into all the debt that I got into because to me, it was 100% worth it. Not because of the education I got, but because of the experience I got. That is forever. Best time of my life. I loved college. But when you're in college and you need to make money because things cost money and your friends want to do fun things, and yes, I worked jobs here and there, but like if I'm being honest, I'm a girly girl and I kind of like nice things and I like to eat food and food was expensive and I needed money. So I had to get creative in the ways that I made money. And as an adult after that, I also became homeless and I needed to get creative when making money. So let me share with you some of the creative ideas that I did to make money. Now, if you've ever been poor, we know of the regular ones like donating plasma. Donating plasma was not for me because in high school once I tried to donate blood and they missed my vein and my whole blood got like it started squirting blood everywhere and I got this huge bruise all the way up my arm. Dude, it was gross. So I was never interested in donating plasma. But we know a lot of people who donate plasma. I don't have a license, so I was never gonna be an Uber or Lyft driver. This was so long ago that like Lyft and Uber were brand new. I remember this is when like Lyft still had like a mustache or something on the front of their cars. So that wasn't going to be for me. So I had to get creative when making money. And I also am an open-minded person. There are lots of things I will do to make money as long as it's not illegal because my parents did illegal things and they all ended up in prison and I knew I never wanted to go to prison. That wasn't for me. So anything illegal, not for me. One of the first ways that I started making an additional income was there was this app called Quid. Quid was an app where you could get different, like these fake online stickers and cards and you could collect them. So for example, let's say there was a Bob's Burger collection of stickers. You could get some for free and I would always just get the free ones. Every day or every week they would release free packs and I would just collect as many free packs as possible. And I would get all of these virtual stickers and cards and they were collectible. So each, let's say a sticker, there was maybe 500 of each sticker and they were all listed by which number they were. So a sticker could be 1, like this was the first one printed, all the way up to 500. So the lower number you have, the more valuable it is. And the collectors wanted ones that were from like 1 to 10, right? They wanted the stickers in the beginning, or they wanted a sticker to complete their collection. So let's say there was 10 different ones in the collection. It was all a mystery of which sticker you would get, and it was a mystery of which number you would get. So I would just collect all of these free stickers, and I didn't really care about them. I wasn't collecting them. I was just like doing it to do it. And I got some that were pretty decent, right? I got ones that were like a number 4 out of 5,000. So that was like a really highly sought after one that people wanted. And I started reselling those on eBay. And that was a way that I could make money by selling these free virtual items that I got on this mobile app. And that was one of the first ways I found out like, yo, I can just make random money online without spending money. And I always knew about reselling. That was something I always kind of did on the side as well, because I used to work at a Goodwill and I was full-time at Goodwill. I used that time to try to save up money to go to college. So I worked full-time at a Goodwill and I worked like normal business hours. I was working at Goodwill from like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And most of the people who would shop during this time during weekdays were resellers. So every time I had a customer that I would see often, I just asked them like, so what do you do? Because I would see one guy who would come in and he would start scanning all the books to see how much money he could make selling these books on Amazon. Sometimes you could just scan the book and you give it directly to Amazon and you just make money, especially like textbooks. Because you know how when you buy a textbook in college and you sell it back, you get money. Sometimes those like textbooks would be donated and they would just get the textbook for cheap and they would resell it back to Amazon or, you know, wherever they did that. There's lots of different websites. I haven't looked into this in a long time, but if you're interested in that, like knock yourself out. So there was that guy. There was like some people who just did fashion, and people sold all sorts of things. There was people who just focused on glassware. There was people who focused just on sporting goods. There was people, and there was all of these different resellers. And this was before reselling became popular. This was even before the Thrift song by Macklemore came out, because I was working at Goodwill before that song came out and after that song came out. And I just remember seeing like an influx of people starting to come to the thrift store after that song was released. But I was always really into thrift stores because I grew up poor and I would get stuff from thrift stores. I remember always wanting to shop at like Hollister and Abercrombie and places like that. And even when I was adopted, had a little bit more of a regular income, but they didn't believe in really buying me stuff. They were like, if you want something, you got to go work for it. And I started working at the age of 14 and whatever. But like thrift stores were always important to me because I knew I could get really cool stuff for the low. Like I could get that Hollister, I can get that Abercrombie for the low. Get cool shoes, and I was always a thrift store girly. So working at a thrift store made sense for me because I liked the thrift store. And working with all of these resellers, I just tried to get as much information as I could, right? Like what a valuable place to work, to find people who are just doing side hustles. If I ever lose my job, I'm not worried about it because I know I can go out and resell again. I can go to any thrift store, any estate sale, and I can just scan and I can tell you what is worth money and what is not worth money. It is like one of my only talents, I think, that I have. That is a skill that I am confident in. Throw me in a store, I will show you what is worth money. So I used that skill throughout the years to resell things when I needed to make money. Another one was back in the day, there were these makeup launches. So for example, I like nice things. I do. I'm a girly girl who likes nice things. And it's a little bit fucked up, but I always try to do it within reason because I know everyone like hates resellers, blah, 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 blah. Not me. But what I would do a lot of the time when I wanted like a new makeup release, I would buy two. So a lot of these makeup releases, like there was a Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star one. I really wanted the whole collection. And what I did was I would buy two. I would keep one for myself and I would resell the other to cover the cost of my first one. So then it was pretty much free for me. Did that with other things like limited edition shoes that were released, clothes that were released, something like that. I would always just buy two or maybe three. I would never do any more than three, and I would do it so that I could pay off the one that I wanted, so I could get that for free. This one is a little bit naughty and a little bit spicy, so you've been warned. Guy reached out to me on my personal Instagram and he was like, will you be mean to me for money? And I was like, that's very interesting. Can you please tell me more about what you mean by this? And this guy, just a random guy who reached out to me on my personal Instagram because he thought I was cute, wanted me to financially dominate him. And that opened up a whole new world for me because the money I was making from financial domination was insane. Like it wasn't crazy. I was cute, but I wasn't like that cute. You know, I wasn't like the kind of lady a lot of rich dudes would be into. I was chubby, but I was cute. You know, if you liked a curvy, chubby 20-year-old, you know, that was my clientele group. I remember I got like a scientist, I got a businessman, I got a doctor. Like I had these guys that I would just financially dominate. Really did so little, and just the rate to text me was $300 a week. That was just if you wanted to text me and you didn't get you didn't get no phone calls, you didn't get no pictures, you just got the privilege to be able to text me. $300 a week for a college kid. That was great. And I had a few of them, so I was getting like, you know, like $900 a week. It was fun for me, and I wasn't always mean to them, right? So there was a time where it was like we were kind of like friends too, and they would eventually get girlfriends, and I would be happy for them that they were able to get girlfriends, and I would cut off that connection. But yeah, that was a fun way that I made additional income for a while, was being a financial dominatrix throughout college. First client I had, he found me. But when I found other clients, it was just like, I don't even remember. I think I just used like hashtag FinDom on Instagram and stuff like that. And this was before it was super saturated, so it was easier for me to find people. There's also websites like My Girl Fund. That was one of the ones I think I used back in the day. I also did things like sell my used socks. And for some reason, I went to college in Chicago, and I think it's because I bought like really cheap shoes from Payless. My shoes would always get like really big holes on the bottom, and I would just sell my shitty like holey shoes to dudes on the internet. Made money doing that. And I got some weird jobs off of Craigslist because they would like pay you under the table, but because they were paying you under the table, the jobs that they had you do were a little bit sketchy. So when I was in college, one of the sketchy jobs, it paid decent. It was like a DUI class for people who got DUIs, but it was for like rich, wealthy people. So really what it was they were coming to take the class, but they weren't really taking the class. So what the lady was trying to get me to do was to pretty much do something that I didn't have a certificate for and I wasn't legally supposed to be able to do. So I got out of it before like things became illegal because I'm a pussy and I'm not trying to go to jail. I'm not trying to fuck around and find out. That's not for me. But yeah, it was one that was going to pay really well. And I worked there for a couple of weeks until I noticed what she was trying to do. And she was trying to do it so if they ever got caught, I was going to be the one held accountable. And I could sense what was going on and I was not trying to fuck around and find out. But yeah, that was a interesting sketchy one I found off of Craigslist. I also worked for a cult, kind of based off of a job I found off of Craigslist. It was a social media marketing internship for a life coaching company. And it was pretty much a scam. Like and I worked for them for maybe like a month. And it was crazy because they made me take the super huge quiz that was like a personality quiz. So it's like, what about my personality made me someone that they thought they could scam? That they thought that would be good to work for a cult. I don't know, but something about me must have ticked the boxes. I started working for them, and I thought it was weird that they kept changing their company name. So many names within the past years, and I was like, okay, from a marketing perspective, this is terrible. How are people ever going to find you and know about you and like you if you keep changing your name? So then I was like, this is interesting. Let me look up some of their previous names. And I looked up some of their previous names and I found these Reddit posts about the things that this company was doing because they would have these like retreats. And this was for rich people too. This was like a life coaching company for like large corporations and CEOs and shit like that. So they would come to these retreats, and what these retreats were pretty much stripping people, stripping whole families, because there would be children there too. There would be adults and children, and they would just like strip them naked, tie them to the ground in the woods, tie them to a tree so they couldn't escape, and be like, you're fucking ugly and disgusting and no one's ever gonna love you. And they like tear them down. They just like make them into like a shell of a human, right? And then they used this to sort of like control them or something. I don't know. I didn't get too deep into it. As soon as I read that on Reddit, the same day, because I was kind of scared, as soon as I went home, I sent an email. I'm going to have to resign. I'm not coming back. Like, I was not trying to fuck around and find out because they kept trying to get me to go to these retreats because everyone who worked there had to be in a retreat eventually. But yeah, that was another weird job I found off of Craigslist. And all of these like weird ones, like, paid decent, right? For an intern, like it was an internship that was a paid internship, and it was like $25 an hour for an intern back then. Shit, that was good money. And the DUI one, which I was like a sophomore, that was like $20 cash paid under the table. Soon I started getting into like medical studies. There was one that I really liked. It paid like $2,000 up to $5,000, something like. It was like a good amount of money, and it paid my rent for a while, where I would be shown like this game and they would scan my brain. So they were scanning my brain while I played video games, but they weren't like fun video games. They were kind of like memorization or like flashing lights. It was so weird, and I don't know what they were actually doing. I found that off of Craigslist too, but I stopped doing that because I remember one time, the last time I ever did it, I was like in the MRI thing where they scan your brain, and they were showing me this like video game, whatever the hell it was. And I was getting the most like painful headache of my life, and my whole body was in pain, and I was in pain, and like after that, because they made sure to do this one later on, so I had already like had trust with them. They've already built my trust. I've already done these silly little games, and they paid me cash for this, and they even like paid you extra cash because it's like, oh, I took an Uber here, and then they gave me extra cash for my Ubers. They gave me little snacks. They treated me so well. And then this was a little bit later on down the path, right? And they always made me do these like diary entries when I would do the game at home, and then when I would do the game in the office, and they would scan my brain. But like once I started getting these really bad, terrible, awful headaches, I was like, fuck you, never coming again. Never coming again. I don't know what that was about, but that was, yeah. I stopped doing medical studies after that because that one like weirded me out. That everything was normal, and I started getting like super like headaches and body hurt, and it just didn't make me feel great. So I stopped doing that one. I got into dumpster diving for a while. So I would dive in dumpsters, and there are Facebook groups where people just buy shit that people find from dumpsters. So I was just diving in dumpsters, finding shit in dumpsters and reselling it online to people who wanted a good deal, who maybe they really cared about the environment because you're taking things out of the landfill. And there are some people who just like buying things from dumpsters. And for a while, I was buying stuff from dumpsters too, because you could get a really good deal. It's like, who cares if this t-shirt was in a dumpster for like 10 minutes, I'll wash it. It's fine. It gets a little extreme though, because then some people start eating food out of dumpsters, using makeup from dumpsters. I used some makeup from dumpsters, but it was only stuff that made sense and that didn't seem to be open and stuff. Some of my favorite makeup brushes I still have to this day. Got them from a dumpster. And sometimes I still want that dumpster diving rush. After college students leave for the summer or during Christmas break, check their dumpsters. I found like stereo systems and good shit in dumpsters from college kids who are leaving, and you can just flip and resell that shit right onto Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace is great if you have stuff in your house that you just want to get rid of as soon as possible. And Craigslist has like a free section, and Facebook Marketplace you can get shit for free. And if you live in a nice neighborhood, my friend got a Pottery Barn bed off of Facebook Marketplace for free. She wanted the bed, so she kept it. But like, if you wanted to, in theory, you could get this free stuff. I would say be a little bit nice. Let it sit there for a few days in case someone actually needs it. But if no one actually needs it and this person just wants to get rid of it and you have a vehicle and can pick it up, shit, why not go collect free stuff and then resell it? You don't even need an income to do that because it's free. But you do need a car and gas. I don't know. You know, you got to find what works for you. I also would resell stuff from Goodwill outlet. And if you've never been to a Goodwill outlet is like a Goodwill, but you pay by the pound. So everything that doesn't sell at Goodwill goes to the Goodwill outlet. Goodwill has been fucking idiots for the past few years, and they price their shit so high, no one is buying it because it's too expensive. I think it's getting a little bit better, but for a while, they were pricing shit just too high, so no one was buying it. So really nice shit was just ending up at the Goodwill outlets. And I don't feel as bad reselling stuff from Goodwill outlets because it's like, I feel like Goodwill and thrift stores should be for like the local community, right? And if you want to buy little things here and there, that's fine. But I prefer to like buy reselling stuff from Goodwill outlet because I feel like it's less, you're less taking it from people in the community, because this is kind of like the last stop. It goes from Goodwill to Goodwill outlet to like landfills and shit. So I liked going to Goodwill outlet because you could find really good shit, and it was by the pound. So like you would get handbags that would have like a $50 price tag, and you would be getting it for like 50 cents. That is where you can make a lot of money. Elephant in the room, if people know me from a certain place, I'm not gonna go too into detail on this one. I'll make a whole separate video for you guys. Going into the art of blue and white heart emoji. I am an accountant, you know? Spicy. Something I kind of did as a hobby, but I also made money off of that. So it is important to mention that. And I can go into a whole nother video about how to do that for people who are interested in doing that. There are always ways to hustle, and there are always ways to make money. There is always a solution to your problem if you are willing to dig deep enough and not give up and be open-minded. There are always ways to make money. You just might have to get a little creative. I've tried so many things too. Like I've tried the ones where it's like make a t-shirt design and make money from t-shirt designs, or do like drop shipping, or do print on demand. I've tried all of like the ones that social media tell you to do. Shit, I never made good money from that. The only time I kind of made money was when I was doing some of that, but you have to pay for ads. Actually, I think the most money I made on Etsy was when I was selling, what are they called? I don't think it's a PNG, but it's whatever people use when you use a Cricut, whatever that design file is when you use a Cricut. So I would go on Canva, I would take Canva designs and I would make them into a PNG or whatever the hell it was for people to use as little stickers and stuff for their Cricuts, which is like a crafting tool if you have never heard of that. And I would just sell these designs online for crafters to use, and I would sell them in bundles, and I was making money off of that, but I would have to pay for advertisements, and it was just like not for me. But there's like so many ways to make money depending on how much effort and energy you want to put into it. And sometimes like one doesn't work. And just because one doesn't work doesn't mean none of them are going to work. You just have to keep trying other things. And I would say, do what is the lowest hanging fruit for you. When I worked in Goodwill, I would get all of the old retro video games and I would go directly to a shop that was at the mall that sold retro video games, and I would supply them from the games at my store. And I had a like connection and deal going on with them where I would just make money off of the games that we would get at Goodwill, resell them to the shop. And I also did that with a Plato's Closet, where when I would get some good clothes at my Goodwill, I would go to Plato's Closet and I would sell them directly to Plato's Closet, and I built that connection. There's like always different ways to make money. You don't have to go the spicy route if you don't want to go the spicy route. But I will say, from my experience, it sucks. But making money the spicy way, it always pays the best and it's always the easiest. I know it sucks, but there's lots of other ways to make money. And if you're not super hot, you're not going to make as much money doing the spicy stuff. Like, we all can't be fucking Mystic Being. If you haven't seen her, babe, she is a babe. We all can't be a Mystic Being, but that's okay. That's okay. There's other ways to make money. YouTube, I'm making money off of YouTube. It's not a lot yet, but someday I believe it will be. It's like I have a job in corporate America, but I don't trust corporate America because they can fire my ass at any time and I can be homeless again. And because I've been homeless 1, 2, 3 too many times, I am not trusting. So I will always have as many little streams of income as I possibly can, just because it makes me feel safe. I encourage you, even if you work a full-time job, get a little side hustle. It's all in this economy. It's nice to have some extra income. I will tell you though, out of all social media, the ones that pay the best in my experience, I don't have Snapchat. I heard Snapchat pays really well, but Facebook, you would think Facebook would not pay well. Facebook pays the best out of any of my social media so far. And I just started posting regularly on Facebook 2 months ago. And I've already made like $3,000, which I think is pretty good. I've ever made a month on YouTube, I think was like 500. I don't know. Depending on what type of content you make, can pay really well. We'll see if I ever get there. But TikTok, trash. Straight trash. Even if you're like, I'm going to make money with TikTok Shop, that's like winning the lottery, dude. Because I've sold stuff on TikTok Shop. And I've had TikTok Shop videos that got like 800,000 views. And then I maybe made like $80 off of that. Which in the grand scheme of things, not very good. If I had a video on YouTube that had 800,000 views, shit, I would be making so much money. So if you're trying to make money and stuff like that, I would not invest in fucking TikTok. I should make a whole video about how much I think TikTok is scamming all of us. I'll do that too. Yeah. This has just been a tangent that was not really planned. I just thought it would be fun to talk about. I don't know. Do you guys not like this? Should I be more structured? Would that be more helpful to watch instead of my like ADHD brain just like spewing things out? I don't know. But yes, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.